don't believe any of this.
Do you believe it? Do you believe this, that there was a horse in a septic tank?
No,
you don't?
Colorado
really?
responders, no.
Really? So you say nay on that one, huh? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Dallas is in distress. The Warriors win again, and Jeff Saturday joins us for a closer look at the Chiefs' offensive line. But we begin today with Luka Doncic's Laker debut last night, which was equal parts pomp and circumstance. LeBron not only put on a Luka uniform shirt in warm-ups, but just this once, he allowed Luka to be introduced last. And LeBron's parting advice to Luka in the pregame huddle was, and I'm quoting here, "Be your effing self. Don't fit in. Fit the F out." Quote. To make the moment more Hollywood, of course the Lakers won. Wilbon, was one night enough to convince you of anything?
Only that it'll be the fun that we think it's going to be, Tony, to watch. You have called for the network to stop broadcasting all other games and only put on LeBron
only
and
Laker
Luka.
games.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so it's fun to watch. It's appointment television. I'm going to watch I can see them. I don't need any network to cancel stuff. I can see all the games as is. Many of us can, and I will watch. Tony, it doesn't convince me of anything except what I was already convinced of. The two of those guys, they know how to play with anybody. LeBron's played with a variety of people, from Dwayne Wade in the Hall of Fame to Kyrie Irving, who are very, very different people, to Anthony Davis, he knows how to play with anybody. He can make whatever adjustments there are. So I'm convinced of that. Am I convinced the Lakers are going to somehow get to the conference semis? Maybe, but I got to see more defensively, and I'm not going to be convinced of that with one game against Utah, which is probably the worst team in the Western Conference. So, no, I'm going to have to see more. I don't know where they're going to get that defense from. They're going to scramble. I mean, J.J. Redick has done a terrific job with two different teams, it seems, and he's going to have to continue that as coach, a first-year head coach. It's fun to watch. It's intriguing to watch. I don't know what I'm convinced of yet, other than it's fun.
Yeah. I'm convinced of one thing from one game, that Luka Doncic is a real star. This isn't Bradley Beal getting an enormous contract and being promoted as a star. And LeBron is convinced of that too, because LeBron went out of his way to make sure that Luka felt comfortable, to make sure that Luka was part of this team. That tells me something on that one night, how important this is to LeBron. The game was never in question. It's Utah. The Lakers were going to win that game. But to me, this was a coronation of sorts. And when LeBron James, who calls himself King James, is part of that coronation, you see the direction of this team. Luka's statistics were nothing special. Obviously, 1 for 7 from 3 is bad. 14 points, a couple of nice passes. That's not what this whole thing is about. It's the symbolism of what's going on. You got to take a wider lens. I'll be brief here. The Lakers won last night, and everybody is enamored of Luka, including LeBron. The Mavericks lost last night, lost another big man. Fans were screaming. You know, you step back and you see these are different directions that people are going in.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt, Tony, but the Lakers, before there's a further coronation, they're going to have to beat some teams that are a whole lot better than Utah. There's Memphis, which I'm going to see tonight here in Phoenix. There's Houston. There's obviously Oklahoma City. There's Denver, which is resurgent and scoring 140 points a game as if Paul Westhead was the coach. There's a long way to go. Long way. And while there was a whole lot of love in L.A., as Tony mentioned, there was again dissent in Dallas. Boos and fan ejections marked the night, with some spectators calling for the team to fire Nico Harrison, the GM who traded Luka to L.A., of course. On the court, the Mavericks lost the game, and another big man, Daniel Gafford, he left in the first half after his right knee buckled. And after the game, Jason Kidd, who was great with the media in my history with Jason Kidd, he didn't talk to the media. Tone, what does all this say to you about the state of the Mavericks?
So I alluded to this, obviously, in the last story. I'll try and get more detailed right now. If the Mavericks were a stock, you would be selling every share you had as soon as you could before it dropped to a penny. Today, the Mavericks are a disaster. That is curable. Anthony Davis comes back. That is curable. But today, it's a disaster. They traded their best player. They now have no big men. Davis is out. Lively is out. Gafford is now out.
Yeah.
Did I mention that they traded their best player, Luka Doncic? Because I think that's sort of important. They have fans screaming. They have an open fan revolt. They are throwing fans out of the arena like this is some sort of guerrilla theater. I told you when we first talked about this trade that it was an insane trade, and no matter what they did this year, it would cost the GM his job. I think it could cost the coach his job as well. I think it's possible Jason Kidd looks around and says, you know what? I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, before we get to that, I know there's not much time left, 30 games. They've played 50-plus games. Every team has played more north of 50. There's time left, and Jason Kidd was a hell of a coach last year. They got to the finals 8 months ago. So I'm not going to go to that level of panic just yet. Tony, there's no question the state of the Mavericks right now, it's dire. I mean, I've got friends and sources I talk to in North Texas, and they are in despair about what's going on. They are somewhere between angry at Nico Harrison to despair about the season tickets they hold or held. I'm not going there. The Jason Kidd thing, I just talked to Jason Kidd a week ago, just before, 10 days ago, before this trade. And the Mavericks knew they were in a tough position with their bigs getting hurt because Lively had just gotten hurt. And they need Anthony Davis back, and a month may not give them enough time. Again, dire. But, Tony, Jason Kidd's been a terrific coach. If Jason Kidd leaves Dallas, I'd hire him in a heartbeat to coach whoever I got, and I might throw out whoever I have. So I'm just saying, before everybody jumps ship.
I didn't say to fire him. I didn't say to fire him. I said he may not want to be there. There's an open fan revolt. This is not fun. Nobody wants to play for them now. This can change. Today's a bad day. Today's a bad day. We will stay with the NBA and go to Golden State, where Jimmy Butler is now 2-0 and has not demanded to be traded, though the night is young. They beat Milwaukee last night, but without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Steph Curry had 38 points. Butler had 20 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals, and that is an impressive line. Wilbon, how high have you raised your ceiling for the Warriors?
Tony, I've raised it some just because I have that much respect for Jimmy Butler, who you know has been one of my favorite players, at times my favorite player in the league for years. I have that much respect for him, and particularly in concert with Draymond Green and Steph Curry and Steve Kerr pulling the levers. I do. And then Steve Kerr even talked about getting to 6th, and that would be a good place to get. I mean, you don't want to be in the play-in, 7, 8, 9, 10, even though they may have to go through the play-in because the Western Conference is that strong, particularly at the top. But I look at the Warriors and I see some of the same problems I see with the Lakers. They'd be great in a 6-6 and under league, but it's not that. And so when Dallas gets his people back, Dallas is huge. OKC has a couple of big monsters in there when healthy. Houston, big. Memphis, big. Denver, Jokic. Playing 6-6 and under is going to be difficult.